Hello, hello, beautiful people. Welcome to the Sideline Speaks with myself, Brittany Jones, alongside Jason Collins and Kevin Walker. What's going on, J and K Walk?
All is well, all is well. Looking forward to another great one.
Yeah, everything's good. Glad to be back. Got a lot of good stuff to talk about, so it should be a fun show.
Do we have a lot of good stuff to talk about, Jay?
I think so. I
We
think so.
really only got one good thing to talk about. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just
La
kidding.
la la.
Had to get that little excitement off my chest because you guys know why. You matter of fact, we're just gonna start off. We're gonna start right off. Y'all ready to talk some sports?
Let's do it.
Let's
Let's get
do
right
it.
into it. Let's talk about what has been the topic of the last 2 days, I guess you can say, and that's the NFL Super Bowl. As we all know, my wonderful, beautiful, lovely. Yes. Yes, Sandy. Yes. Eagles. I spell it right. I love you, Mayor Parker, but I do spell it right. Um, my wonderful Philadelphia Eagles beat the Chiefs 40-22 to win Super Bowl 59. Jalen Hurts was named Super Bowl MVP. First question to you guys: what was your overall reaction to this Super Bowl victory? Jay, I'm gonna start with you first.
Yeah, Britt. I'm not even gonna. I guess a lot of people are probably surprised by the dominance of the game. It's the way the Eagles controlled the game from start to finish. Not surprised at all that they won the football game, though. The
Mhm.
more I looked at it, the closer and closer we got to the Super Bowl. I just thought, everything that I knew and understood about football told me the Eagles were going to win the game. Better offensive line, better defensive line, better overall roster. And I just still believe the game is played in the trenches. And then when you factor in a guy like Saquon Barkley, who, even though he didn't have a huge night, he put the fear of God in Kansas City's defense. And then,
Mhm.
of course, the receivers on the outside. And then Jalen Hurts made a lot of plays, not only with his arm, but used his legs effectively as well. So I just think when you look at the totality of that Eagles football team and that roster, that we're going to be a tough out for everyone. And they played a really good game on the most important night of the season. And Kansas City did not. Patrick Mahomes did not play well. I think you got to give a lot of credit to Philly for that. The way their defensive line just controlled the game. But overall, the Eagles were the better football team. They showed up. They played great when it mattered the most, like K Walk always says, and they deserve to be Super Bowl champions. I felt like the last 5, 6 weeks of the NFL season, to me, they were clearly the best team.
Okay, well, so before I get into all the other questions, just your overall reactions to the Eagles winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, just everything what Jay said. It's just surprising, how dominant they were, and I think that I think what doesn't give Craig is not giving credit enough credit to I think it's the secondary. And I know the defensive line looked like they were manhandling it, but I think they had a lot to do with the fact of the matter is the back end were doing the job phenomenally. I mean, there was a lot of quick stuff that Kansas City wanted to do, whether it be with Travis Kelsey, whether it be with Xavier Worthy, Schuster, and those guys, they just weren't able to get those quick passes off, and that allowed that defensive line to just wreak havoc. And we know going into the game that on paper, everyone you check the boxes other than the quarterback. I think that and maybe with one defensive player, but as a unit other than the quarterback and possibly the head coach, all the boxes were checked for Philadelphia.
Mhm.
But I still thought they would come in, meaning Kansas City would come in and they would get punched in the mouth. Mike Tyson says everyone has a game plan until you get punched in the face. They got punched in the face, and I thought they would. I was always saying that throughout the week or throughout the 2 weeks that we were waiting for, I think I knew Philly was going to give them the best shot, and if they gave them the best shot, it was going to mean that Kansas City was going to have to make a lot of adjustments,
Right.
in-game adjustments, and I thought Kansas City was going to be able to do that. There were no adjustments being made whatsoever. They stuck to that game plan, and the Eagles just teed off on them and just fed off of each and everything. Anything that they wanted to do, they were there to stop them. Meaning the Eagles were stopping the Chiefs. But overall, you got to just give credit to Vic Fangio and those guys. Even though their linebacker, I think Dean went down earlier in the season or midway through the season, but the young kid, I forget his name, but he came up big with that interception as well. So yeah, just an overall dominant performance. To steal I guess that's the word of the theme of the Super Bowl was just dominance by Philadelphia. But I'm just glad it was over here, ladies and gentlemen. It was the worst Super Bowl that I ever had to lay eyes on. The simple reason it was just two teams that I just absolutely could not stand.
We
The
don't feel like
Super
hearing
Bowl,
it.
the halftime
We
show,
don't feel like
didn't know
we
who
don't
the
feel like
guy was, didn't know what he was saying. I mean, everything about it, man. I mean,
Let's give
didn't win
credit
any
where credit
money,
is due.
didn't win any money. Absolute worst Super Bowl
But
in my eyes too. But
no,
overall, just congratulations to the Eagles. No, nothing to take away from what they did, and congratulations to all the Eagles fans out there as
thank
well.
you. That's all we appreciate. But no, for me, I would be sitting here telling lies if I didn't think this would be a much closer game. I figured the Eagles would probably, I think the score I gave you guys was what, 34-21. But when I gave that score to you guys, that was me thinking going into halftime, it would be a very close game. And then maybe in the fourth quarter, the Eagles will somehow pull away. I felt like that was one of the ways that you have to win because you don't want Patrick Mahomes and what he's been doing with these single digit wins constantly where he has the ball in his hand last. So I would be sitting here not telling the truth if I didn't sit here and think that this game would be so much closer and I would be sitting on pins and needles and my nerves would be getting to me. So I was surprised. It was total domination. I think all three levels really, offense, special teams, and defense. And I seen this when they played against the Commanders, which was a good game, but you sit in your mind, you think it's Andy Reid, it's Patrick Mahomes, it's Travis Kelsey. They got Chris Jones on the other side. They got Trent McDuffie, and we're very talented, but it's still a good team. There's an experienced team, a lot more experienced than we are. But kudos to everybody on that Eagles team. The chemistry worked well. The play calling was fantastic by Kellen Moore. They shut down Saquon Barkley, and like Jay alluded to, they put it in Jalen Hurts' hands, and he did what he always do in these big moments. He shows up and puts the game on his back if he needs to. AJ Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert all made some big catches, and so did Saquon Barkley, although he bobbled it. Um,
Yeah.
so that the offensive line was one of my MVPs. The defensive line, same here. So I was really, really surprised. But of course, that is my team. So I did get excited when we finally won. Um, Although I don't like the fact that the parade's on Friday, but it's okay. I understand it's snowing. But back to the game. So I want to focus a little bit more on the defensive side. Once you've seen on defense, I know K Walk you alluded to it, some of what they were doing on defense, but more about Vic Fangio. Do you think Fangio did anything special to stop Mahomes? Because I hear a lot of people say, well, this is just their defense. Do you think, and you guys are former big time football players, so do you think when you watched it um and analyzed it, do you think he did anything special, like any calls or anything that stood out to you to really stop Mahomes? Jay, I'm gonna come to you first.
That's a great question, Britt, because watching on TV sometimes it's hard to tell what's happening on the back end. But I think an interesting thing is I don't think they blitzed the entire game, or at least that's a stat that I heard. I don't know if that's true or not, but I don't think they blitzed the entire game. So when you can just rush four the whole game and keep seven in coverage, I mean, that is incredible, So I don't know that this is one of those games where you can look at Fangio and say, "Oh, he dialed up this pressure. Oh, he disguised that coverage." But he was smart enough to know my front four is good enough to control the line of scrimmage, and I'm going to keep as many guys in coverage as I need to. To K Walk's point, taking away all the short, quick stuff, because really, if you look at KC throughout the year, they haven't been great throwing the ball downfield. So if you can take the short game away and then give some time for that defensive line to get after Mahomes, I really think that was the game plan. Is it special? Is it great? Is it something he drew up in the middle of the night? Probably not. But it's really just good old fashioned disciplined football. And sometimes that's the smartest thing, you know? So I think sometimes the smartest thing is not trying to be too innovative, not trying to be
Right.
too smart. So I think he did a great job just allowing his athletes to control the line of scrimmage.
K Walk, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, again, I agree with Jay there, and I think they did a lot of two man. I mean, and I think they started off with that, and I think they wanted to stay in that for as long as they possibly could until until Kansas City figured it out, or to those receivers started to beat those D backs and those linebackers. But like Jay said, anytime you can keep seven back and just rush with your four, you're going to stay with that as long as the party is going on, without question. And I think they did an excellent job of doing that. The two safeties kept those deep balls, from being thrown, and the corners did an excellent job of staying with those receivers. Because if you look at those receivers, their names are their names are their names, but their games aren't the same. You got the D Hops, you got the Schusters, you got the Hollywood Browns. Those
Right.
names were big names at one point, but their games aren't the same. So, and in Travis Kelce, he hasn't been himself all season long, to be honest with you. So he was kind of an easy cover for the Eagles. And I think Fangio, again, that coverage in the back end allowed those, and nothing to take away from the front four and saying they wouldn't have gotten there, had they not be able to cover, but it allowed them to beat up on that offensive line. We all know how horrible Taylor is, number 74 over there for the Chiefs. He has to line up 8 yards in the backfield to keep it from giving up a sack. And then let's not forget about
Right.
the false starts on top of that and the holding calls that he gets away with. But nonetheless, I think Fangio said, "Listen, we're going to go two man here," and those guys just did an excellent job of just being better athletes. They were better defenders, meaning the Eagles D backs, than the Chiefs were receivers on the offensive side of the ball, and they were just able to stay in it for the
Right.
entire game. For the entire game.
Yeah. Vic Fangio, I don't know what he does, but you've heard about this for many of his former players, mainly the ones that say if you do what he asks you to do, if you really listen to him, he is a great coach. He's going to tell you where you need to be on this particular play. He's going to tell you how to play your position. And he's very good. At times, the terminology of the defense may be difficult, but just give it time. I think one of the 49ers great linebackers, I can't think of his name. His name is slipping my mind.
LeVar Bowman, Patrick
Yes.
Willis.
I think
One of those guys. Yeah.
I think it was Navarre Bowman.
Okay.
And he said, "Man, I don't know if I would be the linebacker I am without Vic Fangio. Look at our linebacking core from this year to last year. A world of difference. What he has done with Zach Bond and beginning of the year, N'Kobe Dean, and once he got hurt, Oren Burks. And everything that K Walk said was right. It's not very often that we see our corners um line up and press the guy in front of them, and that's exactly what they did. They was like, we're gonna throw your timing off. They were being very physical with Travis Hunter and all those, not Travis Hunter, Travis Kelce and all those guys. And it made Patrick Mahomes n- a little nervous. Because by the time he went to go to his second or third reads, that defensive line was right in his face and he went
Yeah.
running. So I thought it was incredible. I thought it was fairly simple. Again, they basically been doing this all throughout the season. So I thank goodness for Vic Fangio. Now I understand why they were trying to get this Vic Fangio defense in Philadelphia without Vic Fangio, which was, crazy. Um, my next question, and Jay, I'll probably come to you first on this one. Um, the Chiefs defense. There was Do you think they focus a little too much on trying to stop Saquon Barkley and not focus enough on trying to slow down really these explosive receivers?
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up, Bria, because I was talking to my brother about this exact same thing last night. Like, so coming into the game, I understand why you would want to take Saquon out of the game, right? Like, over the last several weeks, we've watched him go 50, 60, 70 yards on people in a heartbeat. So I understand why you come into the game saying, look, we got to stop Saquon. But I do. I think they just gave too many resources to stopping
Mhm.
Saquon. It was Saquon or nothing in that game, and I just don't know that that's the way that you can come into a game like that. I get it. You want to stop Saquon. You don't want him to beat you, but it
Right.
can't be stop Saquon at the cost of giving everything else up in the passing game, and that's exactly what they did. Jalen Hurts had his pick of people anytime he wanted to, all one-on-one matchups against the Chiefs defensive backs. And it's not like Philly doesn't have good receivers. So you're going to leave AJ Brown out there one-on-one with someone. I'll take that matchup any day of the week. So yes, I get it. I would try
Mhm.
to stop Saquon too, but I don't think you can just give all your resources to stopping Saquon and say, go ahead and take whatever you want in the passing game. I just don't think that's a formula for winning.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just felt like, most defenses, they try to throw in the wrinkles. Like, okay, we're gonna try to stop Saquon. So maybe we look like we're coming, 8 men in the box and we'll drop somebody back to try to throw the quarterback off. But they put too much focus on trying to stop Saquon. Every so often they would double AJ, but then you got Devontae on the other side. You got
Yeah.
Dallas Goddard. Those guys, especially Devontae Smith, they could beat one guy, easily. So um I wonder if Spag's going to learn for next year. But K Rock, what were your thoughts on what the Chiefs defense was trying to do against the Eagles offense?
They were trying to have Jalen Hurts beat them. You guys mentioned they do have great receivers, but they didn't, and they know that they focused, put all their focus on the majority of their focus on Saquon Barkley, and they went in there saying, "Listen, Jalen Hurts is going to have to beat us," and they didn't believe that he can do it. They didn't believe that he can do it. I didn't believe he can do it, to be honest with you. And that's no hate. I just the way he's played throughout the playoffs and the majority of the season because we haven't seen him they really didn't need his arm for the
Mm.
most part because of the fact of the matter of the success that Saquon Barkley had and the running that he was doing, meaning Jalen Hurts as well. So I think that that they just went in there and said, listen, if Jalen Hurts beats us, then he deserves it. But we don't believe that he can beat us, and that's why we're going to load the box and we're
Mhm.
going to play one-on-one with these receivers. I mean, the receivers are great. They believed in the receivers, but they just didn't believe in the guy who's trying to get them the ball, or in this case, got them the ball. And I think that's what it ultimately came down to. Was it had nothing to do with the receivers, had nothing to do with the running backs, and had everything to do with Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts stepped up, and that's why he was the MVP, and rightfully so, man. I didn't think he could do it. I thought if the game relied on him, on his arm, the Chiefs would come out victorious. But that's why you play the game.
So we're going to talk about that now. So switching to Jalen Hurts and that side, Jay, why do you think they didn't believe that he can do it, especially when he just did it 2 years ago? I know last year happened and they won 11-6, but the whole team played like crap. It wasn't just Jalen Hurts. It was just the coordinators were just wrong. Most I don't even think they're in the league anymore. If they are, they're like an analyst now, so they got demoted basically. I think Sean Desai, who was defensive coordinator last year, went back to college, I believe, and I think he's an analyst in college now. So why do you think it's like they forgot that he beat you this way 2 years ago? We're just going to put all our focus on Saquon Barkley. Yeah, just give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think it's a couple things, Britt. I think the easy answer is they probably watched the Eagles play the last 4 or 5 weeks and said Saquon is playing ridiculous. The passing game looks like it's a little bit out of sync. Let's put our chips on that, right? I think that's the easy answer. But the other thing is, like, I think, and I'm guilty of this as well. I think Jalen Hurts has been overly criticized in the media. I think people are really quick to say he's not doing this, he's not doing that. And just I think one of the things that Sirianni pointed out was just because you're not doing it doesn't mean you can't. Like, The Eagles
Right.
can win a lot of different ways. And if giving it to Saquon 25 times is the easier path to victory, let's do that. If Jalen needs to throw it to win, let's do that. But I think people just didn't think he could do it because he hadn't done it very often. But like when you start to think about it, this kid's 26 years old. He's been to two Super Bowls. Now has a Super Bowl championship and an MVP. Like I think it's time to start talking about him in a different light now. Like some of the criticism that's got to start to go away because he's proven that he can win the big game and he doesn't have to do it in a traditional way. He
Right.
can throw it, he can run it. Like I mean, he just does a really really good job playing the quarterback position, and I think it's time that he starts to get some credit for that.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jay. Look, I could be the most hardest person on my own team, and you guys know that I have criticized this team. They have gotten on my nerves because I know what their potential can be. But when it comes to Jalen, his criticism is, whew, it's not to me. It's not even criticism at this point. It's just hate. I don't like this person because of I have no idea why. He does nothing wrong. He goes on about his business, and maybe it's his he doesn't really open up to the world. He doesn't have to. Why does he need to allow you into his personal life? That's his personal life. But when it comes to the game, and what I love most about Jalen Hurts, right? No, we know he can't throw 100 yards down the field like an Aaron Rodgers or an Anthony Richardson or whoever, but you don't need to throw 100 yards down the field, right? You just need to be accurate and be productive. He says, you know what? I don't care about and he has said this, I don't care about my individual stats. What I care about is winning, and what I care about is rings. Well, if you win and if you rings, that'll help you get some individual stats, right? That'll
Yeah.
help you get to the Hall of Fame down the line. So, and people have an issue with this. And I think we have to get our minds and we have to change it a little bit on how we see certain positions. This is like any league and any position in any league, really, right? When you look at the NBA and we look at the point guard, we most people still want to think that the point guard is just your floor general. Not anymore as much. That they're just not. Or the big man in the center is supposed to be in the middle of the paint on offense and defense. No, that's just not how they play. The position, the way the position is played, has changed. And same thing with the quarterback position. Not all quarterbacks are pure pocket quarterbacks. You know, not all quarterbacks are going to throw for 4 or 5,000 yards, and that's Jalen Hurts. He doesn't care about throwing for 4 or 5,000 yards. He cares about winning, and he has said this multiple times. He says the main thing is the main thing. I just want to win, and whatever that way is, I'm going to win. But K Walk, what are your thoughts on? And you kind of alluded to a little bit earlier. I don't know if you want to add on to it, or we could just move on. Just let me know on uh kind of what we're saying about Jalen Hurts and all the criticism that he gets, and kind of think about it, the disrespect the Chiefs kind of showed them.
I don't think it was so much disrespect in that case. I think it's kind of when you say when you go into a game, especially a game of this magnitude, and against a team that is as good as the Eagles are, you want to ask yourself, how do we want to lose? I guess is pick your
Mhm.
poison. That's kind of the deal is there. I just think they rather had put the onus on Jalen Hurts because he not saying he hasn't done it, he couldn't do it. They haven't shown it. They didn't think that it would be the lesser of the poison. I guess they wanted it to die
Mhm.
die slower than quicker, if you will, in this case. And they took away Saquon Barkley. And again, I don't think it was any disrespect to Jalen Hurts by any stretch. Now, I didn't know how to feel about Jalen Hurts going to. I'm looking at before the Super Bowl. I have my list. I do a list of every year going into the next year of rating different quarterbacks. I don't have Jalen Hurts in my top 10. I didn't have him in my top 10 before Sunday. Before Sunday, I guarantee I'll put him in my top 10 after that performance. And the reason why I didn't have him in there, and the reason why a lot of people feel like, especially Eagle fans, feel like he wasn't as good as he performed, is because we haven't seen it. We haven't seen it. And like you mentioned, Britt, because of the fact of the matter is he didn't have to. Saquon Barkley was carrying it. I mean, when we rank these quarterbacks, you can't say that and then say he's a top 10 quarterback at the same time. Meaning he just cares about winning. He doesn't care about how. I think any quarterback that you talk to is going to say the same exact thing. But the fact of the matter is, again, I don't think it was any disrespect for Spags to come out there and say, "Listen, we want Jalen Hurts to beat us with his arm." I don't think that was any disrespect whatsoever. I just think it was, again, is pick your poison type deal, and they died quicker than they expected to. But no disrespect to
Let me
Jalen Hurts.
correct that. I didn't mean that from the Chiefs standpoint because I know I said a lot in that one little sentence. I
Oh,
meant
okay.
from more of the media perspective.
Of course.
That's what I meant from it. More from it. Yeah, I just feel like if you're I mean, unless you're Cam Newton, clearly he cares about the individual stats and individual
Yeah,
but I
exactly.
think what to me differentiates Jalen from the rest outside of Mahomes, we're gonna take him and we're gonna put him in his own bucket, right? Um, but from Jalen and the rest is when it's a big game, he shows up, he shines brighter, you know. You'll see him make less mistakes. You'll see him make better decisions or whatnot. It's like he really shines brighter in the big lights.
Mm.
And we have criticized other quarterbacks for not being able to do that. You know, Lamar Jackson's, the Josh Allen's. It's like when those lights shine on them, I'm not going to say they fold because sometimes they have some pretty good games, but in certain situations, they don't do or they don't make the right decisions that's needed to be made. We done said it 1,001 times about Dak Prescott, $60 million quarterback, and he just, well, I don't know what's wrong with him, but his light just dims on his own. So I think that's where I'm coming from. And I do think that he should be ranked higher. I've always had him in my top five. I've always had him in my top five. I never took him out because I just knew he played the position differently. But what he does is elite at what he can do, and that's winning. No other quarterback is doing that. He has more wins than a lot of these other quarterbacks. Again, outside of Mahomes, keep him to the side. So, and I think this helps to magnify what he does in a little bit of a better light. He's still going to get criticized, unfortunately, probably until he gets 2 or maybe 3 Super Bowls, which I hope he's capable of doing it. But it's very hard, as you can see. The only quarterback that's been getting Super Bowls lately has been Mahomes. Any final thoughts on Jalen Hurts and their offense? If not, we're gonna move on to the Chiefs.
I'll just say this too, Britt. I think the last few weeks of the season and even in the playoffs, I think it's important to remember like Jalen was not healthy. So some of the subpar games, if that's what you want to call them. I mean, he's dealing with a lower leg injury and he's out there trying to gut it out. I think on Sunday we saw healthy Jalen Hurts. You saw some of the timely runs and things like that. So I think that goes into the equation as well. And then the other thing, Britt, I know it's hard to win Super Bowls. I agree with you 100%. But the thing I love about this Eagles team is they are built to win. Like you telling me next year, like that's not going to be a team that's right back in the mix again, just the way that they're built and how young they are and the talent that they have. So I mean, look, the Eagles are serving notice to the rest of the league. I mean, they're going to be here for a while, I think.
Well, I'm just going to enjoy this one, and then we'll see how next year goes. I want to switch gears. I want to go to the Kansas City Chiefs, and just ask you, who do you think is at fault? Who's at fault for this Chiefs loss? I'm gonna be honest with you guys. If a team puts their backups in with 2 minutes to go, that's a little bit embarrassing in the Super Bowls. One thing if it's the regular season game, that's pretty embarrassing when it's the big game. But K, who do you think is at fault for this Chiefs loss?
The Philadelphia Eagles.
I knew you was gonna say that. Outside of
Philadelphia Eagles. There's no one to put it. You can't say that with that. Philadelphia Eagles were dominant, and then say someone's to blame on the other side. I can't do it. I just can't do it. To be honest with you, I just can't put my finger on anything other than the fact that
I do like that answer. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can't. I don't know how you can do both. Say that the Eagles were dominant, and then it was Mahomes' fault because the Eagles were taking away his passing lanes or taking away his first and second and third reads, and it's hard to put the finger on it. I really don't. You can't put it on anyone. I mean, other than the Eagles. I mean, there was just no adjustments. If you have to put it on somebody, maybe you put it on Andy Reid for not making adjustments. Maybe you put it on Spags, for not, blitzing more. Maybe you put it on the D-backs for, I mean, it's really, I can't put it saying that someone's to blame for this other than the Eagles. I'm trying to figure out, who you could put the blame on for the sake of the question, but I really can't pinpoint this on one particular person, one particular
Mhm.
unit. It was just sheer dominance by the Eagles.
I do. You know what? I like that answer. I agree with it, but I do have to be different, unfortunately. Um, I do think it was the Eagles' fault. But no, to pick somebody from the Chiefs side, I felt like there at times were plays to be made from that offensive side. When you look at the game, I know it looked crazy. But there were times where it felt like Mahomes ran a little too quick, and that's from the pressure of the defensive line. You know, quarterbacks get rattled. We have seen some of your best quarterbacks get rattled. And a lot of us didn't think that Mahomes got rattled at times, but he definitely looked rattled. To me, he was running too early at times, or he wouldn't step up when there was something to be made. And it wasn't very often there was a play to be made, but there were plays that could have been made from that Chiefs offense. So I think some of those mistakes were just unfortunate. Like you can't throw a pick six, throw it across your body in that situation. You know, the one ball right to Zach Bond. It looked like you threw it right to him. I know Zach Bond had to jump to the side a little bit, but he didn't move much to get that pick. So if I had to choose, because when they win, you're the best of the best and you're the elite of the elite. They always say Patrick Mahomes. So when they lose like this, I'm going to give credit to Patrick Mahomes. But Jay, what's your thoughts on who do you think is at fault for this Chiefs loss?
Look, I understand K Walk's sentiment because the Eagles played fantastic. So I feel where you're coming from, K Walk. But I agree with what Britt said at the end. Like, had the Chiefs won, like this would have been a coronation of Patrick Mahomes. Is he now the greatest quarterback ever? Three-peat, so on and so forth.
Mhm.
So I just think when you're the guy that's going to get the lion's share of the credit, if you win, then you got to take the lion's share of the blame when you lose, especially when you don't play well. It wasn't like he played lights out and they just happened to lose. He was terrible. Like those interceptions that he threw were not good. He was not comfortable all night. And yes, you can give the Eagles credit for making him uncomfortable, and they get a lot of the credit. But you're Patrick Mahomes. You're supposed to be the greatest thing since Tom Brady. You couldn't figure out how to put any points on the board in the first half. So to me, I just think if you're going to take all the credit when you win, you got to take the blame, or at least some of the blame when you lose. And then the other thing I'll say, like, substitute Patrick Mahomes for Lamar Jackson. If Lamar Jackson laid an egg like that in the Super Bowl, I don't think anyone would be holding off on the criticism of him. If,
I don't
if
know,
that
Jay.
was if that was Russell Wilson, people would be killing him. If Josh Allen was in the Super Bowl and went back, we'd be sitting here saying that he was being a hero again. So, like, I just think Mahomes has to get some blame for this, K-Walk. He can't escape it because he didn't play well. If he played great, I'm okay. But he was awful. He was not good at all. So I think he gets the lion's share of the blame. And then I put the other part of the blame on the offensive coaching staff. Made zero adjustments. The Eagles completely shut them down, and they did nothing to try to change that. They didn't run the ball at all. So there's plenty of blame to go around, but I can't let Mahomes get away without getting any blame because, man, we would have had a crown on his head had they won. So he's got to take some blame in the loss.
Yeah, Jay, I agree with that to an extent. Now, Patrick Mahomes was the first person to say he put that all on himself. So no one's giving him a pass, especially if he's not giving himself a pass. No one else is going to give him a pass, without question. At least they shouldn't. Now, as far as the comparison to Lamar Jackson, I think if they've been in the same situation, had he been going for 3 in a row, meaning Lamar Jackson or Russell Wilson or whomever other quarterback in that
Going for
situation,
3. Yeah.
I think they might have gotten a pass, to be honest with you, because of the situation, because they were going for 3. But I think we're looking past one of the biggest things over is Tom Brady, man. Tom Brady, the NFL does not want anything bigger than Tom Brady. And that's why Matt Holmes and the Chiefs lost. And I should have picked it up earlier. And I would have had a lot more money. I should have picked it up because Tom Brady was in that booth. And Tom Brady's there saying, whose legacy is going to be hurt if Patrick Mahomes wins this? Is it going to be Jalen Hurts? Is it going to be Lamar Jackson? Is it going to be Josh Allen? If Patrick Mahomes wins 3 in a row, no, who's going to be legacy was going to be hurt? That man in the booth, TB12, and they weren't having that, man, because Mahomes was going to do something that Tom Brady has never done, and that's
Okay.
win three in a row, in my
Let
opinion.
me change that
That's a
question
conspiracy
then.
theorist.
Let's put the 3 in a row to a side and let's look at this from a singular Super Bowl standpoint. If Lamar Jackson plays like that in the Super Bowl, he is getting torn apart. If he play how Patrick Mahomes just played in this Super Bowl, he is getting torn to pieces. Oh, those 2, almost 3 regular season MVPs are worth nothing because you can't show up in the big game when it matters most. You play elementary. You play like you never played, touched a football in your life. Do you know the things they would say about Lamar Jackson? They would tear him to pieces. And I love Lamar Jackson. I think he's extremely talented. So Patrick Mahomes needs that same type of criticism because
He's
he
not gonna
looked
get it.
like pure crap. I'm sorry. I'm gonna just say, you try to be nice and respectful and stuff like that, but Patrick Mahomes looked like he never played an NFL football game before on someone, and
So is he really that good? Is he really that bad, or were the Eagles really that good?
it was a combination of both.
I don't think so. I don't think Patrick Mahomes was really that bad. I think he was that bad because of the Eagles. But we've seen Patrick Mahomes play. We know how Patrick Mahomes gets down.
I
So
know
you can't
he's
tell me
a
because of that particular game and the
No,
outcome of
he's
that
a
game.
good player, but that was a bad game. Like he
Because
played
of
bad.
the way
He
the Eagles
criticized.
dominate. He opened up
He could get
the theme
criticized
of the
for
show is
having
the
a
Eagles
bad game.
dominate.
So
The
Patrick
Eagles
Mahomes will never
dominate.
be criticized if that's the case. Every time he has a bad game, we can never criticize because he got 3 Super Bowls previously.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's why he doesn't get. I think that's why he gets a
No,
pass.
he don't get a pass in my book. He
Okay,
sucks.
well, he gets a pass.
But K Walk,
And to your point, I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes played bad. I'm saying the Eagles were dominant. I can't get credit. I
And
can't win for nothing with the Eagles fans, man. I can't.
no, K Walk.
No, the Eagles absolutely get credit. They absolutely get credit. But it's also true that Patrick Mahomes played that bad. Like this, both can be true.
No, I don't think so, though.
I
Yeah.
do.
See, K Walk, I get where you're coming from, but K Walk, I've heard you so many times on the air and on this show say you gotta be good when it counts. Like you gotta be good when the money's on the line. That big time players have to step up.
Yeah,
and I think if we're saying that Patrick Mahomes, right, is on the short list of the greatest guys to ever play that position, I don't think, and even as good as the Eagles defense was, I don't think you can go out there and put that kind of performance out there and not be criticized. It would be different if he played a decent game. We could say, well, hey, Mahomes played great, but the Eagles were just better. But he turned the ball over. He had happy feet. He was running out of a pocket. Like he did not play well at all. And we can give the Eagles credit for that. But at some point, like if you're that great, don't you have to overcome it? Like K Walk,
not all
if
they're
they're doubling
you,
K Walk, can't you still make a play? I mean,
Jay, you saw that game, Jay. There was no way he could overcome all that. His guys weren't getting open. His guys weren't blocking. And I can't stand Mahomes. Keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. I can't stand the guy. But the fact of the matter is, his offensive line wasn't good enough. His receivers weren't good enough to get open. That's why Big Fangio was able to stay in the same defense from the coin flip to the confetti came down. I mean, that's just the way it was, and there was no adjustments made. And maybe if you want to put something on anything, put it on Andy Reid and not making the adjustments, not making those adjustments. Put it on Travis Kelce for not catching those passes, those certain passes as well. I don't think you can say this guy it was terrible. He had a bad game, but I don't think it was so bad that we're now all of a sudden saying that, oh, this guy's he's not good. He can't play in the big game. He didn't come up in the big game.
I'm not saying
I heard that from someone. Someone said that.
We've seen him play
the big game.
We've seen him play in the big game, and we've seen all that. In this big game, he was not good. In this big game, he was not good. K-Walk. And shoot, I forgot what I was going to say because you were saying something and I had something that I wanted to say, but I forgot. But yeah, I'm not saying he can't play in the big game. He absolutely can. We've seen it time and time and time again. But here's what I was going to say. You said his offensive line wasn't good. I agree. You said his receivers weren't getting open. I agree. But these are the same offensive line he's been playing with all year. These are the same receivers he's been playing with all year.
All right,
And
my
he
point.
was, and his greatness overcame that and
Not a
got them to the
defense like
Super
that. We
Bowl.
didn't see it.
So if
He
we're
hasn't
going to
seen a
give him
defense like
credit
that.
for being Superman and saying Mahomes last second comeback, Mahomes makes the big play and pulls the Chiefs out of a ditch, he was not able to do that on Sunday.
No,
and I think he has to be criticized for that, K. Walker.
No, Jay, not because not because he couldn't do it. It's because he couldn't do it. You know what I mean? If you understand what I'm saying, it's not that he couldn't do it. It's because he couldn't do it.
I understand what you're saying.
Right, let me rephrase it. Maybe he wasn't capable of doing it, but he couldn't do it because of what transpired. And we didn't see, he's never played against a team like this, a defense like this. We've seen it in the past, and we've seen all of his games, all of the Super Bowls have come down to one possession games, or they were down 10 or down, at halftime, and they came back against your Eagles 2 years ago, Britt. He was still in that position to win, but this particular team was a different animal for him.
But I guess my question is, well, do you think he played well? Like, do you think he played a good game? Because I thought he played really bad.
No, there was nothing good about
that. Because even if you're under pressure, like, you don't have to throw interception. Throw the ball away. Like, you know what I mean? Like, some of those interceptions were like.
But when you put yourself in, but when you're down 24 points and you have to make certain throws that you're generally not accustomed to make, you're trying to make something happen because you're in dire straits, if you will. So desperate measures desperate times call for desperate measures, and that's what it is. And I'm not. And again, you guys are thinking that I'm trying to protect. I mean, I'm trying to praise Mahomes. I can't stand the guy. I can't stand the guy. What I'm doing is I'm praising the Eagles defense. That's all I'm doing. And I'm saying we've seen he's capable of doing it. He's capable of doing it.
And that's fine. And I'm also praising the Eagles. I think the Eagles defense played fantastic, lights out. But also at the same time, Mahomes played terrible. Those drops that you said that he threw to Travis Kelce, it wasn't just because Travis Kelce missed it. Those are bad throws. He was there. It was right there. Those are really bad throws.
And he was making those throws, though.
If you watch the game again, there were plays.
I watched the game.
Listen to what I'm saying, K-Walk, before you respond.
There's nothing you're going to change. You're not going to change my mind. So I'm just saying. I know what I saw. I know what I saw.
Take over.
No, I'm done. I said I'm done. I said we're going to go around circles. I'm done.
I said I was done. Before you interrupt me.
Go ahead, Brett. Go ahead.
I let you talk. Thank you.
Go ahead.
All right. Now, what I was saying was there were plays to be made at times. There were plays to be made at times. Yes, that defense was a disruptance. They were purely dominant. But when they had the time to make the plays, maybe he was thinking of that the defensive line was just right there and in his face, and he just missed it. Like, he messed up. It was a bad game. I never said Patrick Mahomes sucks over the course of his career, and this is just this is going to end and put a big question mark on his legacy. No, this was a bad game. This one Super Bowl game, and it looked bad, and going back to his legacy with Tom Brady's and Joe Montana's and all those guys, people are unfortunately questioning, can they put him with those two guys just yet? It's Joe Montana, right? I'll be messing up with my names. So I didn't take Joe Montana out of that conversation yet. I still think Patrick Mahomes is still young and still has some more to do. But there are questions, but we'll see. He could come right back next year and kill it. So we seen this the last time he played against Tampa Bay. They destroyed them. Again, so it was a little bit different because they were blitzing, and that was a Todd Bowles defense. But no, I just got to say, Patrick Mahomes, he just didn't have a good game. The game looked like he never played in the NFL. So, but like he said, I give credit to Patrick Mahomes for taking accountability. That's what we look for in our quarterbacks. And I have a lot of respect for him. So that's what I'm going to say. All right, let's move on. Let's see. One more question, and then we'll move on. I think, Jay, you said you might have some questions as well. And mine's just the halftime Super Bowl. I got to get your thoughts on halftime. It was Kendrick Lamar with SZA. We've seen Serena Williams coming out making an appearance. Give me your overall thoughts on the Super Bowl halftime show. Jay, I'm gonna come to you first.
So I am, this might be an age thing or whatever, but I'm not a I know Not Like Us, right? That I like that song. I play that song all the time. Me and my son, we laugh about, we have a good time with it. But other than that, like I don't know a ton of Kendrick Lamar songs. He's just
Mm-hmm.
not one of the guys I listen to. I listen to a lot of old school music and things like that. But watching the halftime show, I thought it was good. Like I enjoyed it. And then really for me going back and like watching all the little clips on TikTok and on YouTube and people kind of breaking down some of the things that he was doing and some of the dances and the symbolism and all that. So you really almost have to go back and watch it several times to kind of understand some of the things that Kendrick was putting out there. So when I look at it in its totality, I enjoyed it. And really for me, I was just hoping he played Not Like Us. I was sitting there the whole time saying, you got to play Not Like Us. That's all I wanted to hear. So when he played that, I was happy. But my favorite part of the whole thing was when the camera went on Serena. I love that. I was very happy to see Serena out there getting it. So overall, like, was it the greatest halftime show I ever seen from an entertainment standpoint? No. But when you go back and kind of look at the message that I think Kendrick was trying to put out there, it's very timely. I'll just say it that way, a very timely message. So did it blow me away? No. I went back, I don't know how, on YouTube yesterday. I ended up on Michael Jackson's halftime show.
Mm-hmm.
From an entertainment standpoint, that was phenomenal. But I think just from a messaging standpoint, I thought Kendrick did a really nice job. So I was okay with it. It didn't blow me away, but I'm cool with it.
Yeah, for me, I love Kendrick Lamar. He's one of my favorite rappers from to this era. Um, it wasn't like you said, a MJ performance, a Prince performance. For Beyonce fans, a Beyonce type performance. To me, it was more of a pure hip hop type of performance. Like he kept what hip hop is supposed to be in his performance. And to me, it's one of the greatest endings to a beef of all time. I don't care what anybody says. Is one of the greatest wins in a rap battle of all time, or a hip hop beef, I guess you want to call it. Because he did not care about lawsuits, he did not care about Drake's thoughts. He said, you know what, you want to sue me? I'm gonna make you look even more stupid. He
Yeah.
called out Drake. The whole crowd was calling him that P word. I won't say it on YouTube because we might get some sort of strike or something. Um, people are screaming a minor, and I'm just like, He said, and he straight called him out. He said, say, hey Drake, or say Drake. And earlier on, he's not like us. And I know that's when everybody
Yeah.
got frustrated. He said, some people like to sue
Yeah.
and played a little bit of the song. But I thought the performance was actually really, really good because of all the symbolisms, or the messages in it. And like you said, you had to go back and watch it a second time. Um, from the American flag, from Samuel Jackson in the role that he was playing, to one of his dancers pulling out a Gaza flag, and or a flag that said Gaza on it. He did security. People did come and get him, but um, but I really thought it was overall good performance, and I was excited to see Serena. She was like, "Remember, I'm from Compton too, so don't let's not get it twisted." But K-Walk, do you have any thoughts on the halftime performance?
No, whatsoever. Didn't care for it at all. Didn't even watch it, to be honest with you. So no, I have nothing to say about
Oh, okay.
it. I have nothing. I don't know who the guy is. I don't know any of his songs. I just don't know. I'm sorry.
um,
I guess I'm ignorant. I just don't know who that
nah,
guy was.
no, I'm not ignorant at all. Look, Kendrick is not for everybody. Just like people are like, who SZA is? I'm like, I don't know any of her songs. I have no idea. So somebody called me out yesterday. I was just like, no. But I think ended up being the most watched halftime performance of all time. It did surpass Michael Jackson. I think it was because they wanted to see if he was going to do Not Like
Yeah.
Us, the whole
Yeah.
drink situation. And the Super Bowl ended up being, I think, the most watched Super Bowl of all time. Jalen Hurts ended up being, I think, the fifth Black quarterback. It is African American History Month, or Black History Month. So I'm going to say it. He became the fifth quarterback in the history of the NFL to win the Super Bowl. But before we move
Was
on,
that the most watched Super Bowl of all time? Is that what you said, Britt?
most
Wow.
watched Super Bowl of
That's
all
that's
time.
surprising to me because just because of how quickly the game got out of hand, you would have thought that people may have went away and found something else to do. So that's surprising to me.
Yeah, and I'm excited because you had two black quarterbacks leading the way. So for it to be the most watched, so that tells you we're going into a different time, which I love to see. Last question, I just thought about it. I want to get your thoughts. Travis Kelsey, fantastic career. Um, I'm not going to give my opinion yet on how I think he looked, but I'm pretty sure you guys can kind of uh, uh, understand where I'm going with this. But do you think Travis Kelsey has come out and said, Chiefs tight end Travis Kelsey, for those who are watching, came out and said that he feels like he could play a few more years, a couple more years. He still has him. He feels like he has a lot of football left. Do you believe him, or do you think, he might retire after this year, maybe one more year to try to redeem themselves based off how this last Super Bowl loss has looked? K-Walk, I'm gonna come to you first on this.
Oh, absolutely. I believe him. You got to hold him at face value. I mean, when you're talking about a guy, who's arguably one of the greatest tight ends to ever play the game, multiple Super Bowl champion, to go out like that, I don't think he wants to go out like that, to be perfectly honest with you, with a loss like that in the biggest game, and knowing that he could have played better, that team could have played better possibly. So, yeah, I definitely believe what he says. Anytime that a player like that, you got to hold him at face value. His brother said, his brother kind of, alluded to or kind of hinted towards, his retirement when he was ready to retire as an Eagle. So we knew that was coming. But when Travis Kelsey said he's going to retire, I mean, he's going to play for a couple more years. I got to believe that.
Yeah, I don't know. He might. I think I'm gonna give him one more year. I feel like maybe one more year because I don't. You could tell it didn't sit right in a way they lost this Super Bowl. I think they're gonna want to try to come back and I don't want to say revenge, but try to get one more on at least look better, right? In the last game, whatever last game that might be. That could be the Super Bowl next year. We'll see. Um, I just he don't look the same to me. He doesn't look the same. I just feel like they were jamming him up a little bit too not easy. It's nothing is easy, but it wasn't as difficult as he may have made it in years before where players were scared to jam him up at the line because he's a big strong guy. Um he looked like he just had it rough. He had a rough game. But I think that was all season long. There were times where he showed up, once in a while he'll show up, maybe have a 100-yard game or whatnot. But then there's a lot of times where we're asking, where's Travis Kelsey at? And that's okay. He's older. He's 34 years old. He has 4 rings, I think 3 rings. So he's an incredible player, had an incredible career. He's a Hall of Fame tight end for sure. I'm a Travis Kelsey fan. I love Travis. I love the Kelseys in general, from the mom to the kids. So, and I mean to the grandbabies. But Jay, do you think he has a few more years left, or you think this should probably be it? It's time to hang him up.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with K Walk. Like, if he says he's going to play a few more years, that's probably what he thinks. But I
Hmm.
guess my question would be like, what version of Travis Kelsey are we going to see if he does play,
Right.
right? Because he's clearly not what he used to be, and even this year, he kind of took another step back, even from what he was last year. So it seems like that cliff might be coming for him pretty quickly. But I do think, like, I think he did not have a great game, obviously, on Sunday. A guy like that with Super Bowl pedigree, that's not how he's going to want to go out. So I definitely think next year he's going to come back for sure. I don't know. Just watching him play doesn't look like he's got 3 years left of tread on those tires, but maybe one more good year, something like that. The
Right.
interesting thing though is I was watching something earlier. Like, I think he's going to be like a $20 million hit if they keep him. So like the Chiefs have a tough decision to make. Like, if you're not getting the kind of production, is he gonna be worth like the 20 million? Like, I mean,
Mhm.
obviously he's one of their legends. I don't think they're just gonna let him walk out the door, but that's gonna be interesting to see how they can work the finances. But I think he comes back next year, but I just don't know how many more good years he has left in him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think they'll reconstruct that deal to make it work, make it team friendly to get some guys in
Yeah.
there because they're desperately needing a a top notch receiver out there.
right.
Yeah.
Maybe they can get a T Higgins in there to
Hmm.
alleviate some of the some of the double teams that he's going. I think we're going to see a Travis Kelsey this off season, and along with Patrick Mahomes, I think you're going to see these guys motivated, extra motivated. I
Yeah.
know sometimes that you're going to feel like you can get it done, but your mind is telling you, okay, we're going to do 3-4 more years, and when your body's telling you, hey, we got 3-4 more months left in us, buddy, so slow that down real quick. But
Yeah.
nonetheless, I think
Right.
we're going to see Travis Kelsey and those guys get right back to it. They want to be back at the top of that mountain. They loved how it feels to be on top of that mountain when someone knocked them down, and not even just like slowly but surely knocked them down. Just went up there and just hit him in the head, and they
Yeah.
went rolling down the hill, man. And if you
Yeah.
will, and there was no way to get him back up. So I think they're going to be back at it. 3-4 more years. I don't know about 3-4 more years. I can see two, definitely a two for sure. If we're playing spades, I'll say two and two possible and a possible. Oh, two and a possible.
Yeah,
The
I
interesting
know.
thing.
But
Oh, go ahead, Britt. Go ahead, Britt.
I was just gonna say real quick. I know for sure at least one more year for sure. I don't. He's not
Yeah.
retiring after this year, but at least one more year. Go ahead, Jay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I think the other thing too, though, like if you look at the Chiefs, right, like what are they
Mhm.
going to do about that offensive line? Because it doesn't matter if you got Mahomes, and even if Kelsey comes back in great shape, and they add a T Higgins, K Walk, as you alluded to, like if they can't protect, none of that's going to matter. Like, and
Yeah.
you just look at the difference between the way the Eagles have built their front and the way Kansas City has just kind of said, well, we'll let Mahomes' greatness kind of work around this
Yeah.
patchwork offensive line. Like they really got to address that front if they're going to be serious about trying to win more Super Bowls.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be interesting. Real quick, guys, before I just pass it off to you, we got a couple comments in the chat. Let me see. Actually, looks like it's all from the same person. Excuse me if I mispronounce your name. I do apologize. Starting off, but it's I can't even see it. Wait a minute. I wear
Shy Rider,
glasses.
maybe.
Shy Rider West Sider 23. Oh, okay, yeah, Shy Rider West Sider. I kind of like that. 23. Let me not say it because I don't know what I said. I just like to. But he said salute panel chat. Thank you. Kelsey needs to go ahead and hang it up. Let the youngin behind him get that starting spot. He also said, oh, wait, I skipped one. Said crazy thing when the refs let teams play KC lose, but this go around, they got smoked. Any thoughts on that comment? Wow.
Yeah, I'm just glad that we're not talking about the refs after the Super Bowl. Like for the most, I know there were some calls that people were all up in arms about early in that game, but I'm just glad like the refs had nothing to do with it. Like the Eagles were so dominant that it really didn't matter. So I'm just glad we're not talking about the
Well,
refs.
JD Hop feels a little bit differently than you do. So on my
I
show
heard about
tomorrow
that.
night, we got a segment called Knucklehead of the Week, and D Hop is my Knucklehead of the Week by calling out the refs, and they're the reason why they lost that game. So stay tuned for that.
Oh, I missed that K Walk, but I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
go
he
back and
called
look
out
at
the
it because
refs.
I don't
He
I don't
said the
know.
refs were the reason why they lost the
Wow,
game.
Yeah, he said. Yeah, he
wow.
said they missed. He felt like they were was it make okay. Well, correct me if I'm wrong. They were making calls that were a little too touchy or something like that,
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
felt like they
it
were
was.
making the
Yeah,
wrong calls. Now, from most of us, it just sounds real funny coming from a
that's what I said. That's why he's my
Kansas
Knucklehead of the Week.
guy, right? So it's just like y'all get all the calls, and you complaining about a few that went against you guys. Come
Yeah,
on, that
that's a
didn't really
tough sell.
impact the game too much. But all right, Jay, I'm gonna throw it over to you. I'm done. Pass it on.
Yeah, let's stay on the NFL topic, but maybe just talk about some other news that's going on around the league because there's some pretty big names out there that are requesting trades, and I just kind of want to get your guys' thoughts on how you think that's going to play out and maybe some possible teams that these guys are going to end up on. Let's
Yeah.
start with Myles Garrett in Cleveland. I mean, I think he's regarded as the best, if not one of the two or three best defensive linemen in the entire National Football League. He wants out of Cleveland. I mean, he's been there his entire career. He's been nothing but dominant, but they're not winning, and they're probably not going to be winning again next year. And I think, after you've been in the league a long time, you want an opportunity to try to maybe add a championship to your resume. So K Walk, he's requested a trade. He wants out of there. Number one, do you see Cleveland moving him? And if so, any possible landing spots that you think would be good for Garrett?
Yeah, I think I could see him moving on from him, man. I just think that, when you have a player like that who's been as loyal as he's been for the majority of his career, all of his career, I think you have to respect this guy. Understand, one, it's a business. Two, this guy is phenomenal. He deserves a chance at going to the big dance. Anytime you get to that, when you start to look at the Super Bowl and you see these guys there, and you like, you're tired of being at the Pro Bowl each and every year, and you want to, for one, miss the Pro Bowl because of the Super Bowl. So yeah, I think they'll find a package to get it done. I think they'll allow him to go out there to seek a trade, and as much as they'll probably say, "Oh no, we're not going to trade him. We're not trading him," but we all know that's just to boost up the value of the trade, for whatever they get back, for him. But I think he's going to be gone. Where? That's a great question, Jay. Hey, San Fran, let's go. Maybe you'll pull a trigger there, but yeah, I mean, we got to throw out that name first and foremost. But yeah, I see so many. I mean, he mentioned the Eagles as being one of his destinations as well. He said that that would be crazy, and yeah, that would be crazy. So yes, I see. Be realistically, I think he'll be in the NFC, because I don't think the Browns want to see him. He's definitely not going to be in the North. They don't want to see him twice a week. I mean, twice a season. So I think we'll maybe Detroit. I can see them being Detroit, maybe compare. I mean, being matched up with Hutchinson. I know he's coming back as well. I could see him going, that possibly be a landing spot. Then you got the Commanders as well. They got money under the cap, and you got Quinn over there as well. That's a good landing spot for him as well. So those are just a few teams that just pop into my head right now that I think that can get it done and would be a great fit for him as well.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. I heard some of the Eagles whispers with Myles Garrett too, and it almost feels like it would be unfair if he ends up there. But they've got some money to get it done if they really want to. So that's going to be really interesting. But Britt, if you're Cleveland, do you trade Garrett? Do you try to hold on to him? And then again, any possible landing spots for you that you think would be good for him?
I mean, do I want to let him go? No, I'm pretty sure that's in their hearts. No, but I think he put out a whole letter, and I think they have a lot of respect for him. He is getting older. How old is he? I don't even know how old he is right now.
Like he's 35, 36. I think. I don't want to say that old.
Is he that old? He's not that
he's
old.
up there. He's up there.
Really?
I think he's up there.
In my mind, I'm thinking 29, 28, 29.
I don't think he's that old.
He's 29.
I mean,
He's 29.
He's 29? Okay, 29. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody. Who am I thinking is 36? I don't know who I'm thinking of.
I'm like, golly. Hassan Reddick, I think, is
maybe I'm thinking of Jimmy Butler. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
I mean, 29 years old, my goodness, for an edge, basically. He still got a good 4 or 5 years to go, I think. Especially if he takes care of his body. So let him go. It's going to be hard, but I do think they will try their best. I don't think they're going to force it, but I do think they will try their best to find a trade partner. I am hoping. Remember, Jay, you called me out last year because I said I want Myles Garrett or Max Crosby on my team. I'm hoping it's Myles Garrett, and then I'll take a quick Max Crosby right after that. I think, because Josh Sweat is walking, Milton Williams might be gone, so we're going to need Brandon Graham retiring, so we're going to need somebody to help out. I do think we have some trade pieces that we can take Bryce Huff. No, I'm just kidding. But unfortunately, yes, I do think the Eagles may call at least. The Commanders will probably be involved, as though I do not want him to go here. I would hate to see him twice a year. Detroit is very much so a possibility as well. I do not want him to go to Detroit. That is just cheat code to me as well. Because when they're healthy, that's a fantastic defense. San Fran, as much as I hate to say San Fran, but Debo is looking to get traded to try to figure out something there. Who knows? And maybe a few other teams. I agree with K Walk. I don't think they're going to let him go in it. Or I think K Walk said that, right? They're
Yeah.
not going to let him stay in the AFC.
Yeah.
They're definitely going to send him over to the NFC so they don't have to see him but so often. So I do think he's going to get traded, and I do think it's going to be one of those contenders.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, you're talking about one of the best defenders in the entire league. So whoever gets him, it's going to be huge.
Yeah, without a
Miles
question.
got to take a pay cut to sign with a contender.
Without
It'd
question.
be interesting to see if if he's willing to do that, right? Like, is he willing to give up a little bit of money to maybe possibly get a Super Bowl ring? So that's going to be interesting to keep an eye on. Okay, Walk, let me ask you about your 49ers real quick, and then Britt, I'm gonna come to you with the same question. But obviously, Britt just mentioned Debo is also requesting a trade. For you,
Yeah.
K Walk, just as a 49ers fan first, like, how do you feel about Debo wanting out? Does that hurt? I mean, like, just from a fan perspective first, what are your feelings on Debo requesting the trade?
K Walk,
You know what?
real quick before you answer that question. Think of it from the perspective you just seen this man in the Eagles uniform. I'm
Oh,
just
I
playing.
don't. Well, he's not going. We're not going to trade him there. So we're not going to trade him there. No, no, no. Yeah, he lost some cool points for me there, but the way he requested the trade, it kind of it softens the blow, if you will. It wasn't like he went out there. I don't want to be here. I'm not wanted here. Things of that nature, like he did. When he had his contract
Right.
was up a few years ago. It's a totally different situation. He went in and sat down with Kyle Shanahan. They both said, it was the hardest conversation that they had to have because of the fact of the matter. They're such good, they're so close to one another. And, but they both feel like it's time for them to move on, and he knows that that they're asking him to take a pay cut. So right now he's on the books of set for 17 million, and he knows that the 49ers are either going to trade him or release him or somehow recoup as much money from him as possible. So but I think this is the best route for them to take. For one, they get something back from him and for him rather, and then and two, he can keep his money because wherever he's going to go, he's going. They're going to make sure that he gets his money and they get a good deal out of it. So no, I love Debo. We all know that I love Debo. My son is tight because he just got a Debo #1 jersey for Christmas. So now he's tight. He's got to get rid. He might have to get rid of that, but it's not a foregone conclusion. They're still trying to see if there's a possibility that they can work and keep him there. But right now, it just looks like he's going to be gone, and it's just a matter of where he's going to go. There were some scenarios that were laid out that I really love for not only the 49ers, but for Debo as well. And I think it'll be a perfect fit, a perfect marriage for both. Just some of the names like the Steelers, the Commanders, who else is that? The Chargers as well, and some of the compensation that they'll get back. Just to name a few players there. I mean, a few teams there. But yeah, to answer the question, I say all that, Jay, to say like it doesn't hurt. It's softened the blow because of the fact of the matter. He went out a professional, the professional manner, and it wasn't one of those things like I want to be somewhere where I'm wanted, that type deal. So as much as we hate to see our players go, man, we know this is the nature of the beast. So it's got to cut into everything comes to an end at some point.
Yeah, that makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. Britt, any thoughts on Debo where he possibly could end up? What team might be a good fit for him?
First, I want to say Debo tried to get back in good gracious with Eagles fans by wearing that jersey. I'm just
He was
kidding.
rocking that jersey.
Yeah, he was supporting his friend AJ. He was supporting one of his best friends is AJ Brown. I respect him for that. So it's weird, to see Debo. It's going to be weird to see Debo in any other jersey outside of San Fran. Like it's just going to be weird to me. I do agree with K Walk. I think they're going to try to do everything they can to try to see see if he can stay. Maybe that's restructure of a contract. Maybe that's, I don't know, adding some more years, not necessarily playing years, but boarding, like not void years, but to kind of extend his money out longer to hopefully lessen the cap hits or whatever they may need to do. Um, but if he is gone, um, and he's still very productive, um, I, as much as I would hate it because he's going to talk even more crap about the Eagles, the Commanders look like a pretty good destination. They need, I like the Monty Brown over there. He's young and he's becoming, he's developing the other receiver they have outside of Scary Terry. But Adebo over there will probably fit very well in that offense as well.
Yeah.
With the Jaden Daniels, so that's not a bad pickup. Maybe the Chiefs go get him. To me, they need a receiver, a little bit of a younger receiver. He is older. What is he, like 30 now? No, 30,
29. I just looked it up.
29.
It's 29.
Yeah,
Yep.
so 29, 30. So he's still fairly young as a receiver experience. So the Chiefs wouldn't be a bad idea either with all those trick plays. I think Andy Reid will be fantastic to scheme him open. Um, and them yak yards is still crazy. So I could see him going to one of those two places. I don't know if like a Detroit will fit him. I think they have enough receivers over there. I don't think they need them too much. So maybe a Texans. They need somebody down there. That's a possibility. I think isn't CJ Stroud his guy as well? I don't know. I could be wrong. Or was that Brandon? That might have been no. What's the other receiver you guys got?
Ayuk.
Brandon.
Randy Ayuk. No, Dayton Daniels was his guy. So I'm gonna throw out the Texans as well. I think people are forgetting about them, and I think they need or somebody who could stay healthy and be productive as well. So those
Yeah.
are my top 3 spots: Commanders, Chiefs, Texans.
Yeah, it's going to
I
be
say
interesting.
Chargers. I will send him to the Chargers. Let's get Joey Bosa back and Joey Bosa for him and pair up the Bosa brothers on each side and give me a draft pick. I like
Yeah,
that.
because that's what I was going to say. Ask too, K Walk. Like, do you think San Fran will try to get him somewhere where they don't have to compete against him, or do you think that's not really going to be an issue when they're trying to make the deal?
Yeah, I definitely think they're going to do the best for both of them. I mean, at some point they're going to face him, but as long as they're not in the NFC West, I think they're good with facing him once a year as opposed to twice a year. So I don't think it because the teams that I've seen, are the Steelers, are the Chargers, the Raiders were one of them as well. So it seems like they're leaning more towards the AFC, but. The only NFC team that I really saw that made any sense were the Commanders, in my opinion. But yeah, I don't think they're going to look at it from that perspective, Jay, as far as where he goes and if they're going to face him again. But I don't see it being an interdivision trade. I don't see that happening by any stretch. But I think they're going to take care of Debo without question.
Mikey says Debo for Tyreek. If you tell you what, seeing Tyreek in San Fran's offense would be very interesting.
You know what?
That would
and
be
he's familiar.
very,
Yeah, and
very
he's familiar
interesting.
with Mike McDaniels too. So I like the
Yeah.
way you're thinking, Mike. I like the way you think.
That would be interesting.
My thing with Tyreek though, and I love him as a player, but that attitude, he gonna snap out of that attitude. That's
Wide receivers ish.
but he might be too much. You like, oh my gosh, stop.
AJ Brown's too much. AJ Brown's the biggest wide receiver. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me retract that. I'm sorry. George Pickens is.
I was like, Brown, absolutely not.
By far.
All right, before we move on, K-Walk, real quick. Are the 49ers, are they rebuilding? Are they in rebuilding mode now? Because I think 2-3 years ago, we all probably would have agreed they had one of the best win now, ready-made rosters in football. A lot of injuries, some things have changed. Are they rebuilding now? Are they retooling? Or how do you see that roster right now? Are they in full rebuild or is it just a couple tweaks? How do you see that roster?
Yeah, I see. I'll call it rehabbing, Jay. We're rehabbing right now.
Okay.
For all of the injuries that they have, so I'll put it in that category. But I know where you're going with that. But yeah, I think anytime we just got finished talking about Debo, being traded away. So I don't want to call it rebuilding because I think they still have the pieces there. They still have Kittle there. They're working on the deal to get him. Obviously, Brock is going to be back. They're working on this deal. McCaffrey's a full go. He just got the full go. When Brandon Ayuk will be back, I don't know, but we still got the young kid, Ricky Pearsall, White Boy Rick, as we call him here. Um, and yeah, and there's some pieces they have to actually have to, to get, of course, they have to, show up that offensive line, get some defensive linemen in there as well. They may be losing Ward there because of the contract situation, but I don't think definitely not a rebuild, Jay. I don't want to call it reload. Maybe it's a reload, but they definitely got to hit the free agency market out there as well to bring some quality pieces in there. They got the 11th pick, so they can get something big there. If they want to make a big splash, they can use that pick to bring in a quality guy as well. So retooling, I guess, is probably the best word to use in this case.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I mean, you're right. When you just start naming off the players, it's like, okay, yeah, they still got a bunch of really good guys on that roster. All right, Britt, let me come to you now. Let's talk about a little bit about some of these quarterbacks. Let's start with Sam Darnold, because obviously I think a lot of people were pretty impressed with how he played, particularly throughout the regular season. We know in the playoffs he sort of, what wasn't great, but I think people were pleasantly surprised with the way that Sam Darnold played this year. But they also have McCarthy waiting in the wings, coming off of an injury, the rookie out of Michigan. How do you see the Vikings handling that? Do you think Sam Darnold is a Viking? Do you think that he walks? Do you think they're ready to turn the keys over to McCarthy? What are your thoughts on the whole Sam Darnold situation?
If he walks, where does he go? I wonder if other teams see this as a 1 year wonder type of thing. You just so happen to be with, I think it was Kevin O'Kyle. What's his name? Kevin O'Kyle.
Yeah.
Can he go to another situation and do something similar? Was it that offense? Because there were times though when he went up against a formative defense. I don't think the teams that they played really, and it's the NFL, and I don't want to knock any of the defense. So let me make that very clear. NFL is hard regardless of who you go up against, but you could see the difference when you're going up against a contending team or a potential contending team versus like the Colts, who's not ready. They're still trying to figure things out. They're still rebuilding. And when he went up against a contender or potential contender, they got knocked on their butts. And he looked like the Sam Darnold from New York at times. But if he can find a system where or go to a team where they're going to be patient with him, where they're going to really try to understand what he's most comfortable in and try to build around that, um, then that's fine. But for me, I think he stays in Minnesota. I said all that just to say, I'm about to say,
You ain't going nowhere.
right. think I think he stays in Minnesota. I think he excelled in Minnesota. I think the coach over there did very well. That chemistry seems like it fits well. I think they're gonna have to pay him somewhat. I don't think he's going to get the super max contract, be one of the highest paid quarterbacks. I think his contract could be pretty reasonable, and I hope he understands that. I know he did one. I believe he won comeback player of the year. I believe. But I think he stays in Minnesota. I think they continue to develop JJ McCarthy. They go into training camp, maybe thinking Sam Darnold will be the starter because he has built so much chemistry with a lot of their players over there. But with the understanding that he's probably just that bridge type of quarterback, and I think he has to understand that's probably where his career is right here, right there at this particular moment. But in order to, you still have to pay him, bridge quarterback or not, you still want to have to give him a significant contract because you want that protection. JJ got hurt. We don't know where he stands at this point. He was a rookie that got no playing time, so he's very inexperienced. And Sam Darnold, as much as you like him, don't like him, he played fairly well for the Vikings and led them to the playoffs. So I think he stays and they pay him pretty decently.
Yeah. I can definitely see that scenario happening. K Walk, if you're the Vikings, what do you do with Darnold?
Yeah, I think you keep them. I think that's something that relationship seemed to work, and then another year under Kevin McDonald would serve both of them, fairly well, if you will, because of the fact of the matter is they're familiar with each other. They know the tendencies. Kevin is a quarterback whisperer, if you will, and what kind of like what Britt alluded to or not alluded to was talking about. JJ McCarthy is coming off of that injury, and he's your future. Unless you're looking somewhere else, you see something on the other side, on the other side of the street or what have you. You think that JJ McCarthy is worth giving that up for whatever you get back from him. But I don't see that happen. I think JJ is the future. Britt alluded to it. Is that Sam Darnold is that guy who's going to be somewhat of a a bridge quarterback, a guy who's holding it down for the future, because you're not going to put all your ducks in a row, your eggs in the basket, whatever cliche you want to use when we're talking about Sam Darnold as your future. You don't want to you don't want to go that route. So I think he holds it down for at least 1 year. You sign it for a 1 year deal. Let JJ come back, get healthy, and then you start over him, because I don't see him, meaning Sam Darnold. I don't see him fitting anywhere else to be a starter. So if he goes anywhere else, more than likely he will be the backup. But he very well could be the backup in Minnesota, but I don't think it'll be right away. I think he'll play a few games until they feel like JJ is healthy enough to get in there and take over for those guys. But I think he stays put. I think that's the right move for the Vikings and the right move for Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I agree, but just to play the other side of the coin, and either one of you guys can jump in and answer this. And ladies and gentlemen, just so you guys know, I did not give Britt and K Walk the topics this week, so everything I'm kind of throwing at them is just I'm throwing it at them, and they're coming off the top of their head with no real preparation. But
Real bad
um,
rappers. No,
Right.
but what do you say, and either one of you, what do you say to the Minnesota fans though? Like if you're saying, hey, let's bring Darnold back, this is probably our best case scenario. What do you say to some of those fans that are like, here we go again? Like he's gonna be all right during the regular season, but he's not gonna be a guy that can get us over the hump. How do you sell that to the fans of Minnesota that you're gonna bring this guy back?
Good, Britt. You want me to go first, Britt? You got it.
yeah, you got to go first
All
because
right. I mean, who's our Viking guy that comes? Was that Man Down Sports? Is that
No,
the Vikings guy?
that's
That's
KSAP. KSAP.
KSAP. Sorry, KSAP. Yeah, KSAP, man. We want to hear his thoughts and opinions on this. But I would say it to to the Viking fans, like, listen, yeah, you haven't won anything in forever. So it's this is the best you've been in a long time. So understand your future right now is probably rehabbing right now, getting ready, and he looks promising. Without question. And Sam Darnold performed better than expected. A lot of people didn't expect him. I know I'm one of them. I'm guilty of it. Didn't think, even though he's with the 49ers the previous season, I didn't think, he did enough to warrant a starting position there. And also I didn't think he was going to be good enough to take him where he took him, to the playoffs. Yeah, they just ran into, better teams in the playoffs. That's what's going to happen. And your weaknesses are going to be exploited. And I think, when you look at Sam Darnold, you come in here, just everything that we just mentioned is that, listen, one more year familiar in the system, one more year in the system, one more year with Kevin O'Connell, one more year, with Justin Jefferson and those receivers as well, Jordan Addison. And I think is a Hawkinson as well. So for another year and another full season, off season of getting familiar with those guys, and I think he's going to be just as good. I don't think he'll be worse. He can be worse. I don't think he'll be better than he was. But I think if you put the right team around him, he can get you further than what he did
Yeah.
this past season. So that's what I would say to the Vikings fans.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a good sell. That's a good sell. I
yeah,
mean, because you're right, they haven't won in a long time,
Long, long,
so that's a
long
good sell.
and a lot
All
have
right,
they ever won? No,
yeah,
no shit.
time.
have the
No.
Vikings
I know
won?
what you mean. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
sure. I don't
Let
know
me
if
I,
they've
see.
won one
Let me
like
look.
way back in the day. Have they won one? I feel like
I don't
maybe it
think
was
so.
a
maybe. I mean,
championship,
the
not a
Vikings
Super
were
Bowl.
they've had some good teams, and I know they should have won one when they had Chris Carter and Randy Moss and
Oh my
and
God.
Dante
And Randall
Culpepper. They
Cunningham.
should have
Yeah.
won for sure.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, but yeah, they should have won, but
I know
um,
they definitely gonna have to shore up that offensive line for sure. And then who's their running back? Aaron Jones.
Yeah, old
He,
Aaron. Yeah,
yeah, and
and they
he's
have a
getting
backup too. Yeah,
yeah, he's getting
they have
up
a
there,
backup.
so they're gonna have to put that defense. I think if they had for the talent that they had, Brian Flores did very good with that defense. So
Yeah. They won the NFL championship in 1969. That was before it was even called the Super Bowl. So
Yeah,
right,
basically,
exactly,
no, they never won a Super Bowl.
exactly,
So
exactly.
yeah, so it's been a long time coming. All right, let's shift gears a little bit. Let's stay on quarterbacks, but let's talk about because I mean, every time I turn on the TV, I see Shador Sanders. I go on social media, I see Cam Ward and Shador Sanders
Yeah,
working out. Obviously, the NFL draft is just a couple months away. There's some debate about which one of those guys is going to be the first quarterback that comes off the board. Okay, well, which one of those guys do you like better? If you need a QB, you go in Cam Ward, you go in Shador Sanders. How do you see that whole competition between the two of them?
yeah, Jay. I love Shador. Man, I really do. I love the way he approaches the game. I love his arm strength. I love his accuracy as well. But I think Cam Ward is built a little bit differently. Man, he can throw the deep ball, fairly well. He's very mobile, and he doesn't like to run. But what he does like to do, he likes to buy time. So he's back and forth in that pocket, just buying time, waiting for the guys to get open. He did a lot of that, wherever he went. But more recently with the University of Miami, and his arm strength is there as well, and he's accurate as well. I think he has the higher ceiling out of the
Okay.
two. And again, this is nothing taken away from Shador Sanders. I watched him play each and every week, but also watch Cam Ward play each and every week as well. And for him to lead his team each and every week, especially with that defense that the University of Miami had, was just very impressive. I mean, they put up 40 points a game, without, with ease, and he was never out of the game. So I like Cam Ward just a little bit better. I just think his intangibles, he has a little bit more intangibles than Shador Sanders again, and then I absolutely adore Shador.
Britt, how do you feel about those two guys? Do you have one ahead of the other? Is it close? Well, if you're picking, which one you taking?
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm gonna leave this one to K Walk and his opinion. I don't know enough about Cam Ward. But from what I'm hearing is I think most people are more excited about a Cam Ward than they are Shador. They see a lot of potential in this Shador Sanders and they do like him. But to be like a overall number one pick, I don't they from my understanding, they don't see him as a number one pick. Maybe a top 10 pick, maybe a top 12 pick, but they're just not right now seeing him as a number one pick. And that could absolutely change with the workouts that are coming out, with
Yeah,
the workouts that are coming
exactly,
up, the NFL
exactly.
combine, things in that nature. If he decides to do the NFL combine, um, so that can absolutely change. But from my understanding, is Cam Ward is like that's the guy, the first quarterback that is number one on most people's boards right now.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna go with him right now until I
Yeah.
see otherwise.
No, I mean, I think that's a lot of what the experts are saying. Most of the people I see they do have Cam Ward ahead of Shador. Shador's got the one trait though that I think is huge. And K Walk, you mentioned it. Like he is an accurate passer. Like I don't
Yeah,
know if he does anything else better than Cam Ward, but I do think from an accuracy standpoint, ball placement, I do think he does that at an elite level. But it almost feels like to me, like there's more places Cam Ward could go and be successful just because of some of his athleticism, his
yeah,
ability to throw
exactly,
the football. Whereas I almost feel like with Shador, and I'm high on Shador, so this is
exactly.
really not a knock against him, but I almost feel like he needs a not I want to say a perfect environment, but he needs to be on the right team. Not
Yeah,
that everyone does it, but
well, I
I
got
feel
you.
like Cam Ward could probably play in more places where Shador, I
Right.
feel like he needs to get in that right environment suited for him, good offensive line, so he can stand back there and make the throws. But to your
Yeah.
point, Brett, I think both of these guys are going to be top 10 picks, but I do think Cam Ward is going to come off the board before Shador does,
Yeah,
for
I was
sure.
very ask you guys that question. I don't again, I haven't watched enough of Cam Ward, so I don't know too much about him, but I know a knock on Shador is, and you kind of alluded to it, Jay, he holds on that football. He holds that
Yeah,
football way too long.
Absolutely
And
too
if you're
long.
holding it too long in college, you get less time in the NFL. And I'm assuming it was more of a question to you guys, but I'm kind of making an assumption, and y'all could correct me if I'm wrong. I'm assuming that might be an issue with him when he's now. Granted, he'll go through training and they'll try to
Mhm.
coach him out of that. But I'm assuming that could be potentially a major knock because that time is going to be cut in half in the
Yeah.
NFL.
Yeah, I agree 1,000%. There are times he holds the ball way too long, and we've
Yeah.
seen guys in college get away with it. But case in point, the Bear, who was his name slipping my
Caleb
mind, the Bears,
Williams.
quarter-
Caleb
Caleb
Williams.
Williams.
Mhm.
Caleb
He
Williams.
holds the ball too long. We said it
Yeah.
about him at USC. He
Yeah.
came into the NFL trying to do the same thing. Absolutely does not work. He started learning at the end of the year. Look, I can't get away with this in the NFL, and that is a lesson that I think Shador is going to have to learn as well,
Yeah.
for sure,
Yeah.
100%. All right, guys. That's let me hit y'all with one more question. Again, I apologize. I
Yeah.
didn't warn y'all with any of this, but now that football season is over, we got to start shifting our focus in some different places. None of us have really been too high on the NBA up to this point, but I'm sure we'll get there. But let me throw this out to you because I have been watching a lot of women's basketball. And obviously it's way too early, so we'll all reserve our right to change our minds about some of this stuff. But give me two or three women's college basketball teams, maybe just two, some of your early favorites, maybe to cut down the nets or maybe to make it to the Final Four. There's a lot of really good teams out there. UCLA, South Carolina, USC with Juju, Connecticut's
Mm.
always in the mix, right? There's a lot of really good teams. K Walk, is there anyone right now? I know you probably haven't watched a ton, but you've been keeping
Mhm.
your eye on it. Is there
Yeah.
anybody that you like right now, or a couple teams that you're like, they're pretty good? I can't wait to see them late in March.
The Notre Dame sticks out for me. Without question, the way they dominated. What they dominate the other day was Stanford. I forget
Yeah.
what it was. It was like 50 to at one point. It was before the game came on. I looked at. I said, "It's a damn shame what they're going to do to this. This team. Like kind of like coming to America. Damn shame what they did to that dog." But but yeah, I like the way Hannah Hidalgo is playing. She's on point. She's improving. No pun intended there. But she's improved so much from last year. I just like the way they look as a unit. And I guess you got to go with with South Carolina and Dawn Staley and Floze and those girls are doing there. But you know what? I'm gonna say UConn. I like UConn right now because of the way Paige Beckers is playing right now. She's healthy. She's back. She's got her hair dead. She's feeling good about herself. So I'm gonna throw Gino and those guys in there in the mix as well. So I got Notre Dame, UConn, and obviously usual suspect is South Carolina as well.
Okay, I like it. I love the Notre Dame pick. I think their
Yeah.
guard play is phenomenal. Olivia
Yeah.
Miles and Hannah
Mhm.
Hidalgo, they
Yeah.
get after you. So I love the Notre Dame pick. South Carolina, I mean, they're always going to be there. They're
Yeah.
always going to be in the mix. Britt, any thoughts? I know we've been just coming off of football season, but now we got to start broadening our horizons here. You like anyone right now early in this? Well, not early, I guess the middle of this college basketball season.
I haven't really been watching too much, but K Walk kind of took mine, which is Notre Dame. I
Yep.
love Hannah. My goodness, I think she is a star. She's such a good player. She could shoot it from anywhere. Good floor general, in my opinion. I think she's just a star in college basketball. Um, but I'm gonna go with the one team, and I think they just lost recently. Um, I'm leaving South Carolina out of it because I always choose them every year, and that's
Yeah.
because
Right.
Stelly is one of my favorites, so I'm biased to them. But UConn, I know you guys just said it. I like UConn, and I love Paige. I can never say her last name, Paige Buckners or whatever, however you say it.
Beckers. Yeah.
Becker,
Becker.
yeah,
Yeah.
Paige
Beckers. Yep.
Beckers. I have been a fan of Paige Becker since before I even heard who the heck Caitlin Clark was. No disrespect to Caitlin Clark at all, because we know one heck of a talent she is, but the reason why I think Caitlin Clark rose to that level so quickly was because Paige Beckers was hurt all the time,
Yeah,
and it's just
sure. Yeah.
unfortunate. Again,
Yeah.
that does not take away from Caitlin Clark's talent. Let me make this very clear, guys. Caitlin Clark is very talented and is a star in her own right. Absolutely.
Yep.
So do not attack me. But Paige Beckner's do it all on the
Caitlin
court.
crazies.
Right. Plus, she plays a defense, in my opinion. Like, I have been a Paige Beckner fan, and I was excited when she took over for UConn. And I think she's healthy, and I'm excited to see her in the WNBA. I'm so excited to see her in the WNBA.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And we get South Carolina and UConn this Sunday, so that'll
Yeah.
be a good
Yeah.
time to lock back
Mhm.
in. That'll be a big one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go
And
UCLA. UCLA is the
Yeah.
only undefeated team in the country right now. They're big, they're athletic. They've already beat South Carolina this year. UCLA's got a really good
Yeah.
basketball team. They have 6'7" center and Lauren Betts. They have athletic guards and wings. Like they're going to be a really tough out for everyone. So, ladies and gentlemen, those are just some teams to keep an eye on as we kind of move into this basketball season. We'll be talking about it a lot more in the weeks to come. But that's all we really have for you tonight. Good show, guys. I really enjoyed it. Nice to be back on after a few weeks off. Before we get out of here, K Walk, let the people know where they can find you and if there's anything you're looking forward to this week.
Yeah, you can find me primarily on Facebook, Kevin Walker, on Instagram, Kevin.Walker142. I'm rarely on X, so it's at Kevin Walker142. You can catch me tomorrow night on Podbean podcast. I get used to saying that, ladies and gentlemen. It's a new format for us. It's Sports Talk with K Walk and E Scott, 7 p.m. Wednesdays. Check us out. We're Rich with the invites there. If you can make it, that'd be great. If not, we completely understand. Jay, you're always welcome, brother. So we got a great one dialed up for you tomorrow night. NFL, a lot of NBA talk tomorrow night to get into it. And what I'm looking forward to is just that NBA basketball. Nothing to plan too much this weekend. Oh, well, Valentine's Day. What am I talking about? I'm so sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Married over 20 years. Sometimes you forget those things, man. But happy Valentine's Day to all those. What's that, Brett? What you doing?
Britt covering up the Sixers.
Oh, hey, you got a Super Bowl win, so you're good to go. They get a pass from you.
Yeah,
they
saved the Sixers' life.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so that's what I'm looking forward to this weekend. So everybody have a great Valentine's Day weekend for sure.
Yeah, that's good stuff, K Walk. Did Heather kick you in the knee when you said you don't have much going on this weekend? Did she give you a little kick? Is that what
her gift came today, so I'm good. Her gift came today, so I'm good.
All right. I was just making sure she didn't give you a little kick off camera and that jarred your memory for a weekend.
Nah, you ain't see me do that, so I'm
good. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you guys can find me at Jason Talk Sports on all social media platforms at Jason Talk Sports. Yeah, okay, Walk. Now football season's over, man. I guess I'm ready to dive back into some of the basketball stuff. That's really all we got going right now. And yes, of course, long weekend this weekend. Got some days off of work. You mentioned K-Walk Valentine's Day, so should be a good weekend. Britt, what you got for us?
You guys can find me on. Oh, what am I on? Oh, if you have TikTok, then TikTok is still around for those who have the app still. And Instagram as well as X at Brittany Monique. And I have been actively posting on Twitter, aka X. I'm saying some crazy stuff and calling out people, and I'm about to call them out now. LaShawn McCoy, you need to make a decision. Are you with the Eagles or are you with the Chiefs? And if you with the Eagles, stop knocking Jalen Hurts. Like, which one is it? Like, you can't be in the middle here. Trying to play the middle. I'm sorry. But no, let me focus. But what am I looking forward to?
His nickname is Shady.
Facts, K-Walk. Facts. That's why his nickname is Shady. But no, I'm looking forward to. I mean, it's parade day for us out here in the Philadelphia area, which is on Valentine's Day, unfortunately. I'm going to watch it on TV. I'm going to enjoy it from the warmth area of my home. I've been to the last one. Once you go once, I don't think you need to go again. I do have to go into the city though that day, so that's going to be interesting. But that's what I'm most looking forward to. So I'm going to finish enjoying this Eagles Super Bowl win before I start looking into basketball. But and in the off season, I don't care what anybody says. I think the NFL off season is extremely exciting, and I am one where I start looking into the college prospects, NFL Combine. I just go follow all the way through. So that's what I'm most looking forward to.
Yeah, yeah, good stuff there, Britt. Good stuff. There you
Thank
go.
you, Kevin. I appreciate it.
Yep. Eagles, Super Bowl champs. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you guys listening. We'll be back here next week, Tuesday, 7 p.m. So for Brittany Jones and Kevin Walker, I'm Jason Collins. We'll see you guys next week.